A very good evening, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for joining this career guidance program of Young Members Section Committee of IESL. And it's a Saturday evening, and we know that all of us cannot go out. So let's spend our time fruitfully by getting to know some tips for you for your career guidance and the development of your career in the future. So today I was supposed to be the moderator, and Tanya was the MC, but unfortunately the bandwidth connections are troubling us a bit, so I will take over as the MC as well. So I am engineer Zahra Marzouk, an electrical engineer at Ceylon Electricity Board, and I have nearly 7 years of experience in coal power generation, and now I'm working in the distribution sector. So I am also an assistant secretary of the IESL YMS. And with that, I would like to give you some glimpse of the activities carried out by the IESL Young Members section. I would like to invite Engineer Sasindu to share the screen for you to view this wonderful video of the YMS.
I think now we have got a very good idea of who the young members section are. And having a quick look at them, the strength behind putting this event today, and having seen all their contribution towards this world of engineering in Sri Lanka, how this journey has been, I think it was so fascinating to witness every effort taken by the young members section in impacting and also uplifting many lives of engineering undergraduates across the country through their insightful sessions in preparing them better to the work world. So we wish them all the very best and success for all their future endeavors. And now to place the welcome address, I cordially invite the chairman of Young Members Section, Engineer Damit Disanayaka, who is currently an executive engineer at the Provincial Road Development Department, Kurunegala. Over to you, sir.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Tania. Hope I am audible to you. It is our duty to welcome all the participants and briefly explain the purpose of this career guidance program. Ladies and gentlemen, yes, again, good evening to everybody. First, I warmly welcome our panel members, Engineer P.W. Sarath, Vice President of IESL and the former Chief Officer, Sri Lanka Telecom, Engineer Industry Galage, former plant manager for Lakvijaya Power Plant, where he worked in the Ceylon Electricity Board, and Engineer Lakshit Sirisena, Engineering Manager, Amity Power Consultants, and the final panel member, Dr. Najat Akram, is a design engineer, and now today he is joining from USA. We know that you all are very busy people. We appreciate your participation for this program as the panel members. Then I would like to welcome Engineer Sarah Marsu, the moderator for today's program, and Engineer Sarah is the one of assistant secretaries to the young member section of IESL, and Engineer Handita Rajapaksa, YMS secretary, and all executive committee members of the YMS, IESL student chapter chairman, and all the executive committee members of the IESL. And I would like to welcome all the engineers, those who are joining for this program today, and all undergraduates and the dear participants. You all are welcome for the today's program. I briefly explain the purpose of the organizing this program as the YMS. Now, you all know that there is a big competition now in the industry level. Now, around 2000 or more than that, engineers graduate and come to the industry per year. Therefore, there is a huge demand, a huge challenge for the engineers for finding a suitable job. Therefore, industry always seek the best people. And therefore, dear students, you have to be smart. You have to improve your skills in the university itself. We thought that you need to know what are the opportunities available in the industry and what are the special skills industry expect from the young engineers. What are the issues and how to overcome these issues as a young engineers. It is best important to have some sort of ideas before joining to the industry. Within next couple of years, most of these are the undergraduates will graduate and go to the industry. Therefore, you should have some sort of idea about the industry, what is the industry looks like. That is why, as the YMS, we are organizing this kind of career guidance program. Earlier, we organized 2 programs, one for the mechanical engineers and then for the civil engineers. This is for the electrical, electronic, and telecommunication engineers. We hope that you will take the maximum benefits from this program. With that note, I conclude my welcome speech and thank you. Over to you, Ms. Tania.
Thank you very much, sir. It was a great honor hearing to your insightful words. And now it's high time to move on to the in-depth discussions to why we all are here today. So as I told before, we have a discussion lined up where experts are going to brief you about the industrial requirements, the competencies that as electrical engineering undergraduates that you should acquire, the job opportunities that are available in both local and foreign market, and also the higher studies opportunities that all electrical engineering undergraduates should be well aware in order to craft a successful career path. So to carry on the proceedings, I would now invite the moderator of the panel discussion, Engineer Zara Marzouk, the Assistant Secretary of the Young Members Section, and also an electrical engineer at the Ceylon Electricity Board. So glad to have you, Engineer Zara, and over to you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Tania. Now, let's move on to the most interesting session of today's panel discussion. First of all, I would like to introduce our first panelist today, Engineer P.W. Sarat. So as you all know, he is the Vice President of Institution of Engineers Sri Lanka at present, and he's a MIESL, MIET, MIEEE, and International Professional Engineer as well. So he passed out with his BSc in Electrical Engineering from the University of Moratuwa in 1983, and he has got his postgraduate diploma in Business Administration from the University of Ruhuna. Currently, he is serving as a visiting lecturer at the University of Ruhuna and the Sri Lanka Technological Campus at Paduka. He is also a certified lead auditor of ISO 9001-2015. He has 34 years of experience in the telecommunication industry in planning, operations, and projects. And also, he is a key member of the team that introduced NGN technology to Sri Lanka. So without further ado, I would like to invite our first panelist to start and tell us about what it awaits in the industry for electrical, telecommunication, and electronics undergraduates. Over to you, sir.
Yes. Good evening, Sarah, the ladies and gentlemen.
Good evening, sir.
So now, thanks to the technology now today, we are joining from the different direction, and I am joining the historical city goal. Right. Anyway, my dear peer panel members, who are known to be my both of my by names, Engineer Industry Galage and the Engineer Akshit, etc. And Cha YMS Engineer Daminti Sanaka. So we meet very regularly for the council meetings and the other actions. Today, that is when Sarah gave me an invitation, that is I was very pleased to accept it. So now, without taking much time from you in this evening, so we are now mostly handicapped and locked to our homes, but we are capable of continuing our social life, at least thanks to the technologies in the Zoom. So then, shall I move to my presentation? Yes, Sarah, you have me. I can now share my presentation. I think sharing is okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, you know, telecommunication industry of course, I can define that is a particular industry with a lot of evolution and the revolution. Two words I want to use it, evolution and the revolution. Now, few decades ago, in 80s or sometimes 70s, mainly 70s, getting a telephone call was a luxury item. Even only few people were accessible for a telephone, our desktop phone. So it was a symbol for someone to maintain their status. But with the dawn of the millennium, so total journey of the technology, the worldwide took a dramatic turn thanks to the telecommunication industry. So telecommunication is correct defined as tele is a Greek word and communication is English word. Tele plus communication means communication at a distance. It's called distant communication. At the very beginning, this communication limited only for voice, telephone. But within a short period of time, it created a pathway. It created another gateway. And it created changes social life. Voice, video, and data. We call triple play services. Right. So I can remember that the days I took many challenges. So when I joined Sri Lanka Telecom, in Morato University, I passed out as an electrical engineer. Not I did telecommunication. I did only electronic and telecom as an optional subject. So finally, I had the opportunity to join SLT. I don't know what reason, but those days we had a lot of opportunities. So we just applied the job. So then the challenges I took in joining as engineer power in the telecommunication, not a problem because there also I had to attend with the DC rectifier systems. That first time I have seen the thyristor carrying that is a heavy current, the rectifiers with thyristor technology. Having worked 2 or 3 years, so there was a requirement that Matara, there was a vacancy as a telecommunication engineer. So that era, 1989, was not conducive for everyone in the country. So it's a dark era. So no one wanted to go there. I too, though it was my it was the city where I born. So, but finally, the management insisted me to go there. So I took over the duties as regional telecommunication engineer without knowing even single theory in the telecommunication. I had to work hard with the then crossbar technology switching systems. I had sleepless nights. To learn how the voice is transmitted through these crossbar switches using the microwave technology from Colombo to Matra, how the link was working. Finally, I overcome that challenge. So then this is from my side. So then I became a telecommunication deputy general manager. So I was able to capture the latest technologies thanks to my bosses, thanks to my teachers who taught me in the university, because I knew fundamentals. So that I was able to go up to the telecommunication, Sri Lanka Telecom, as a chief officer, mastering these technologies. So today the telecommunication industry has a vast, actually telecom industry has a wide exposure. Today technology will die tomorrow. How fast the things are evolving. Now we cannot say it's a telecommunication industry. I prefer to use as a data communication industry. Because our voice is also going over data as a data packet. So now, earlier we have called as a telecommunication engineer, only to provide the telecom services. But now, telecommunication is the service, support service, essential support service for the other industries. When it comes to transportation, when it comes to logistics management, when it comes to railway systems, the transportation, yes. When it comes to your SCADA systems, I think Mr. Industry agree with me, SCADA systems, IP-based technologies, and system automation, data centers, right? Now we are dealing with a lot of technologies. So that is in, I told you about the slide in little about access technologies, physical electric fiber, transport technology. For those things, when we have blended these technologies, we offer many solutions to the people. People are asking solutions from the telecommunication engineers, nothing else. Right? They're asking solutions. People are asking solutions. Companies are asking solutions. Welfare societies are asking solutions. Now, then because of this, you have the very different avenues. Different avenues comes as earlier traditional job is network operation, sorry, earlier avenues, operation and maintenance. But then it comes to system integration. The whole customer service are automated. If you go to the particular bank and you can open account from one bank to open the money from the other bank. You can transfer between the banks. Just a mouse click only required. Millions of transactions happening per day. And more importantly, network security domain. When we advance in the technology, there may be hackers. Both hackers, maybe ethical hackers as unethical hackers. Unethical hacking is another area. Sorry, that is people are exploiting. But ethical hackers are area you find the jobs. So you are allowed to hack my network ethically and see the vulnerabilities. Explore the possibilities to break the systems and come into the solution architect. So as civil engineers, that is they want to find a service from the architect for their civil buildings. But now there are some solution architect for the networks, etc. Yes. Then the customer sales support. Now regional telecommunication engineer is not an engineer. He has to buy the customer service support. And so these are the requirements. So you, of course, you must know the fundamentals, the following a degree in engineering. And in addition to that, in the telecommunication industry, you must get some certifications, professional certifications, like the network security and network management, etc. And some you'll have to modulate and fair knowledge in economics. Because what the network, of course, you have to maintain the economics of scale. While it comes to the rupees and cents or dollars and cents. Importantly, attitude, skills, and knowledge come as competency. You have to develop your competency and your field proven experience. You must be in touch, constantly touch with the aspects. You have to read many magazines. You have to listen many talks. So you have to listen many YouTube videos about the new technologies are coming up and emerging. Right now, the last but not least, what challenges you will face? Yes, now you are not asked to do the traditional job. You are asked to do some because the biggest challenge is now most of the companies get the service from the other small companies. And sometimes the data sciences are coming up now. Sometimes data scientists also will challenge you, but be mindful. If you are a telecommunication engineer, having the fundamental knowledge, you can compete with anyone who are coming with the same background. That is that I want to say finally. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your patience.
Thank you very much, sir, for that enlightening presentation. I think our undergraduates and fresh graduates got to know a little bit, a sneak peek into the industry. Let me ask you a question, sir. What was the most challenging experience for you at the initial stage of your career?
Yes, as you explained, I explained. The biggest challenge I faced when I was forced to go for take over the regional telecommunication engineer job. So in there, then I, without knowing a single knowledge, that I knew only the NPN transistor only, right? And just to knowing that only, that is the telecommunication microwave theory, how that is the ENH fields, electric signal create the ENH magnetic wave. That is the only thing I knew. So then when I seated there, those days telecommunication was a monopoly. That is in Mazara. I have only 3,500 telephones. But mostly only elite people had the telephone. So even a single breakdown, sometimes they comes with very aggressive way. And my staff working under me, not a very professionally qualified staff. They were really technicians or senior technicians, very senior people. I was the youngest in the technical team. So then sometimes they look at me and I know I heard sometimes, me mahatru edadanne pampasing vitraini. So finally, I changed the game within a year. So then all my seniors, even from technical questions, they get my support. So as boss, there is a fault in the exchange. Can you come in the evening? The best time is the evening to trace the fault. So that is the way I, in simple words, I took the challenge, because I had to learn from my driver. I had to learn from my technician. I had to learn from my senior DITs. And I learned a lot of from my bosses. And I learned a lot of from my customers. Then finally, I was able to do the command, and I was entrusted to handle the Mathura telecommunication project to expand network from 3,000 lines to 50,000 line within 1.5 months. So sorry, within 1.5 year. with the 14 base stations, with towers and 17 exchanges, 50,000 copper loops, the very first optical fiber link I laid with the support of a telecom consultant and the Nokia Finland. So that I took the challenge, and that was timely, the project timely completed, and that is in the given time, that is the person none less than President Chandrika Kumartunga came to open the declare open the Matara automatic switch exchange that provides many facilities at that time. So that I took the challenge and completed my task. And another task I completed the NGN technology that under my my leadership, we brought that is NGN technology to the SLT and country. So that's a challenge. I took it, but I started my career as an electrical engineer. I love electrical engineer because being an electrical engineer, you can even become a telecommunication engineer, data communication engineer, because you know, only thing you must know, V equal IR, exactly you should know it. And not forgetting the Kirchhoff law, what I studied it. Then other things you can read from the books, listening to your friends, and peer-to-peer discussions over the phone. Sometimes sleepless nights I had to discuss with my friends. That's the answer.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. Impressive story. I think we learned a lot from you. It will be a very good motivation and inspiration for the young ones here. We have our next panelist here with us today. I think another challenge-taking person in our country, Engineer Indra Galage. He's a member of the IESL and member of IEEE. Currently, he's retired from Ceylon Electricity Board and working as an independent consultant. He passed out in 1985 as an electrical and electronic engineer from the University of Peradeniya. And he latest positions held were the power plant manager of Lakvija Power Plant since 2014 and the project director of Puttalam Coal Power Project. I think that was one of the most challenging power projects ever constructed in our country, with lots of challenges and lots of obstacles, as you might be aware of, including people coming and objecting it in public because of the fear of coal. And then before that, he has been playing the roles of a chief engineer, area engineer, engineer in charge of the Vimala Surendra Power Station, and an instrumentation engineer at Laksapana Complex, and operations engineer at Laksapana Power Station. You can see the variety of positions he has been holding during the past years. And most of all, he has been. I had the privilege to work under him for 7 years, nearly 7 years. So I warmly welcome Engineer Indra Galage to conduct his presentation to give you an idea about the avenues you have in the public sector in electrical engineering. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Sarah. Shall I share my screen?
Yes, sir.
Good evening, everybody. It is a pleasure to talk to you as an electrical engineer with that 34 years of experience in public sector. And I must thank especially young engineers section of IESL to giving this opportunity to share my experience with young undergraduates. So the electrical and electronic engineering perspectives in the country, I will explain to you. And in the public sector. So public sector mainly comprises of utilities and construction and other organizations. So to join with that the public sector, there are a lot of competition, I think. Maybe due to some benefits also, that those public utilities are stable and promotional prospects are there. The island-wide, it is spread over island-wide, and some duty concession, vehicle permit, and those some concessions also be there. That's why most of them are like to join. But as I said, it is some benefits also, but you have some liabilities also with that with the occupations. So you have to answer audit queries, you have to obey with rules and regulation, and responsible for general public. Not like the one owner or some head is there. You have to answer for general public also. There are a lot of job opportunities for electrical engineers. I heard that they are now passing out around 2,000 graduates. So mainly the power engineers, the place is Ceylon Electricity Board. Ceylon Electricity Board has around 900 electrical engineers, and you can go to the top of the ladders as an electrical engineer. Our chief executive officer, the general manager, also an electrical engineer. So that if you can join with Ceylon Electricity Board, you have a good opportunity to move up. And some water-related organizations, National Water Supply and Drainage Board and Mahali Authority, then construction and building service industry, State Engineering Corporation, STNCC, the engineering consultancy firms like CECB, then regulatory authorities, Public Utility Commission of Sri Lanka, then transport-oriented organizations, Government Railway, Sri Lanka Ports Authority, Airport and Aviation, then petrochemical industries, Ceylon Petroleum Corporation, Retrogas, then biomedical engineering at Health Department, then electronic media, Sri Lanka Rupahin Corporation. If you are willing to join with research and development, then Arthur C. Clarke Institute for Modern Technologies, then armed forces, mainly technical crops, Army, Navy, and Air Force. There are a lot of opportunities also. So become a competent electrical engineer, you have to develop your skills. And you should have, if you have some ideas about that, during the interviews, you can face that interviews properly with that confidence. So during this, your university education, you will get the good theoretical base and little practical knowledge also. During the lab classes and industrial training, you will get that industrial exposure and some practical knowledge. But in the industry, the places where the real applications take place. So shall we think about that? When you are in the lab, you will do that practical on electric motor or generator. Those are scale models. Say, for an example, that motor in our Lakvijay power plant, the feed water pump motor is 5 megawatt. The capacity is 5 megawatt. Our capacity of our generator is 300 megawatt. So these huge generators and huge motors. So in the lab, you have to think about only that electrical parameters only. But those generators and motors, you have to consider that the vibration, the bearings, the cooling system, a lot of things, other fields, involving other fields also you have to think. So the knowledge of other fields also very important. To get that knowledge, as Mr. Sarath explained, the up to date, your knowledge is essential. Don't stop that you are improving your knowledge after the graduation. You have to, day by day, the industry is developing fastly, so you have to get that knowledge. Then the analytical and problem solving approach is essential. Because that industry, they are earning money by selling their product or service. So interruption of that service may cost a lot for them. Say my previous experience in Lakvijay power plant, if one of our 300 megawatt generator has a breakdown and unable to operate, it will cost 100 million rupees per day to CEB. So think about that. If we delay to get back that generator, what is the pressure and things come, how it's come? Because the industry, that those problems can come anyway. During the university education, you know that exam dates and everything, you can prepare for that one. But in the industry, anytime anything can happen. So you have to be ready to take those challenges. And the public sector, you have to obey with, as I said, AR, FR, and that own institutional regulations. You should get that knowledge of those regulations also. If not so, someday you'll be in trouble. These regulations are to monitor and control and proper usage of public funds. So don't worry about that. You have to get that knowledge about the rules and regulations. Then you have to work with in the industry with people with different knowledge and different categories or different qualifications. So there's some technical things we have to explain to them. So your communication ability should be improved to explain those technical jargons in understandable way to them, even the non-technical persons. And you have to be open-minded when you are working at this this institution. Maybe you have posted to some location. Your subordinates may be working for their 10 or 20 years. They may have their own experience. You have to get their experience working with them and blend with your theoretical knowledge and finally improve the productivity of the organization. That is the must. First job, when sometimes you may prefer to have, some of them are prefer to have office or some easy places. But I think that first job you have to select if there is a possible technical job. Then you can use that theories you have learned in the university to apply those theories, and the latter period of that your professional career, then it will be useful for taking decisions. Those places may be remote places, the hot, noisy, dusty, maybe confined places. Don't think that these are hardship. Take that challenges. Think that as an opportunity, because these type of places is live places. Everything, a lot of things are happening in those places. So there are a lot of things to learn those places. Therefore, those places give you confidence. As you saw earlier, I have started my career in Lakshapana complex. Those days is very, very remote places, and no even telephone lines, no mobile, or no direct telephone lines also, no transport facilities. But we have enjoyed life, and we got that lot of confidence while working there. So as I said that, our service in public sector, it is always required for the country. So when I was in Lakvijay power plant, in these photographs taken in March 2020, during the pandemic period, the last year, there was no vaccine, nothing. That country was fully locked down, but we had to work. So those period, the coal unloading period, we have to unload coal, as well as we have to manage the power plant also. Because those days our contribution was 60% of the national daily requirement of the energy. So we have to give our contribution continuously. I saw that benefits as well as we have that liabilities also. So I think that you have get some ideas about that public sector. I wish you a successful journey in your career, and thank you for giving this opportunity. Thanks.
Thank you very much, sir. I think that was a very interesting presentation. May I ask you as well, what was the most challenging experience for you in your career?
So, as that slide explained, that I was worked as an hydropower engineer for 18 years. Then general manager asked me to cover the post of project director of Lakvijay Power Plant Phase 2. So those days I don't have any experience of thermal power. So I told him, he told me that, no, you can do this job. So I can't reject that request made by the general manager. I took over, but after some time, I feel that it is very, I take very dangerous decision to took over this job, because those days there are a lot of repercussion about the phase 1, that units are always tripping and thing. My challenge was to get that better two power plants from the same contractor. So we have planned for that one. I have discussed with my colleagues and who want to join with me, and we have formed a good team, and we have changed our organization as a learning organization. And those days my age was 52 years. So I have changed that my field to hydropower to thermal power at that age. And those days no one has that coal power experience. So we have to survive with our own experience, and our that's why we have to study ourselves and get that knowledge. So what we did was, we every day we got up at 4:30 or 5. We have referred this drawing and went to the power plant and checked that those equipment. And day by day we have developed our team. And finally we were able to build a good power plant with compliance with all the standards requested by the tender. That was the big challenge what I do.
Thank you very much, sir, for sharing that experience. So I personally know engineer Industry Galage took a huge risk, and he was able to also bear a huge amount of stress even during the most riskiest times of the power plant operation. So now next, with that, let's move on to our next panelist. Well, he's a little bit a young engineer, younger than me as well. So he passed out in 2013. He's none other than engineer Laksit Sirisena. Sorry about the mistake again. He's a member of IESL, member of IET, and member of IEEE. Currently, he's working as the engineering manager at Amity Power Consultants Private Limited. He passed out in 2013 from the University of Moratuwa with an electrical and engineering degree, electronic degree, sorry. Then he took the MSc in electrical installations from the same university in 2018. He's working as a visiting lecturer at the University of Moratuwa. He has held various positions, including the local electrical consultants, design engineer at the Colombo Port City project, and the MV cable design reviews and service tunnel MEP reviews, and also the Havelock City commercial and retail development project. So he has a lot of experience in consultancy and as well as project. So without further ado, let's invite our third panelist for the day, Engineer Laksit Sirisena. Over to you, Engineer Laksit.
Thank you, Sarah, for the wonderful introduction. Okay, wishing a good evening for everybody here, the co-panelist, and thank you IESL YMS for inviting me for this wonderful opportunity, which is an eye-opener for our young, fresh minds of the future. So without further ado, I will give a brief introduction about the opportunities you can find in private sector. So there are several avenues you can find in core electrical industry as well. The consultancy firms are there for electrical power and also MEP, which I'm currently working in, and also operations for power plants and factories, renewable sector, solar, mini hydro, biomass, and in future there will be opportunities for wind power plants as well, and maintenance of factories, hotels, supplying and trading also an opportunity for electrical engineers in the current job market. Contractors engineers role is crucial for projects to make sure that the projects are running according to the drawings and the specifications of the consultants. Private utility, you can think about LECO distribution. Lego also employs engineers for their distribution planning and maintenance. So there will be opportunities for you in private utility as well. Apart from this core electrical industry, there are other industries which electrical engineers can join actually. So there are research and development. For example, you heard about Vega, right? Electric car developing company who's now also working on fast charging of electric cars. So there are also software industries. If you are skilled in algorithms and coding, then the opportunities are open for you as well. Telecommunication industry, engineer Sarath gave a magnificent introduction about telecommunication industry as well. So if you are fulfilling those requirements, you can also join telecommunication as well. And opportunities for entrepreneurs, if you are risk taker and also willing to start up your own business, if you are innovative, then being an entrepreneur is a wonderful opportunity for you. So you will be basically self-employed. You won't be working under anyone else. You will have to start up own business. So there are also opportunities for you as well. I'll give some briefing about consultancy because I hope majority of you have already undergone industrial training by now. So you must have some sort of understanding about uh, how the industry works. I'll give this introduction about consultancy. So we are working under different sectors. We are working with utility. We are working directly and indirectly with Ceylon Electricity Board and other foreign or utility companies as well. We are serving our services for factories, uh, either pharmaceutical, manufacturing plants, for their designing, implementation, and also troubleshooting. When it comes to buildings now, it's a hot topic, high-rise buildings and even low-rise buildings with condominiums and residential, commercial sector. So in all these sectors, the consultancy of electrical engineers will be required. So if you are going to the industry as the consultancy engineer, then you will be exposed to these areas. Although you are not directly involving to a consulting firm, once you join a particular company, you will meet these avenues as well. You will be working in utility, industries, and buildings. And in consultancy, you'll be working in national projects and also international projects. And as engineers, we have to follow standards. That's the heart of our practice. We have to, apart from the ethical background, we have to follow the standards stipulated by international organizations. So it's about the consultancy. If you have further questions, I hope you can raise during the Q&A session. Whatever area you join, so there will be the areas which you learned during the degree program, and also far more you have to work on these areas apart from the knowledge you already grabbed. So it will be high voltage, low voltage, or even extra low voltage systems like CCTV, telephone systems, networking, and MATV likewise. So building services is about MEP, like mechanical, electrical, plumbing systems, lifts, generators, and all the building services required. You will have to engage with those practices when you become an electrical engineer. Another avenue is automation. So to tell about myself, during university, I was actually more enthusiastic about the automation field. But once I passed out and joined the industry, I pursue my career in consultancy in high and low voltage after graduating from electrical engineering. So these are the areas, whatever job you do, and challenges. What would be the challenges ahead of you? So whatever the job you follow, either private sector or public sector, you'll be following its own inherent challenges. So we'll see what are the private sector challenges ahead of you. There will be obviously job security doubts, and there won't be any lifetime privileges like pension schemes for you. And there won't be trade unions to save your job. And the benefits you would get will be subject to the company's loss and profits as well. So these are the unfortunate challenges ahead of you, which are inherent to the private sector. More or less, there will other challenges related to personal problems between your bosses and your subordinates as well. But these are the general challenges inherent to the private sector. So we'll now see how to overcome these challenges. So don't be fearful that by seeing these challenges ahead of you. So how to overcome this challenge is quite impressive as well. Whatever job you do, you have to evaluate yourself what you need, and you have to focus on the career development, which is very primal. As electrical engineers, you are not just doing a job. Focus on career development, and just like engineering industry explained, take all your difficulties as an opportunity. Then you will never feel the tiredness and the exhaustion by the amount of workload you are given. So focus on that career development. Continuous professional development, it is really important nowadays. Having a BSc degree is not adequate actually now in industry. Now people are following masters, and some are going for PhDs after working in industry and joining back the industry as well. And there are several number of CPD courses offered by IESL as well. So once you work in the industry, you will feel that thirst to learn, to discover certain areas. So even I'm still learning a lot of areas which I'm not expertise of. And you have to perform at your fullest capacity in private sector. Otherwise, there won't be any survival. You have to perform at your fullest capacity. You have to contribute to your organization, and most importantly, keeping this mind in society. You have to contribute to society indirectly or directly. You know, having been the impression that we are working in private sector, we are not directly involving with the society. But as an engineer, you have a responsibility for society. So keep that in mind when you work under any employer. So if your job is unethical, take a good decision about that. So in order to overcome these challenges, there's a common trick you have to follow. You have to set your attitude to the correct direction. By turning this attitude, you can overcome the challenges. You can evolve yourself to stand above these challenges. I will now show you how the some of the works being done in consultancy firm to get you some idea. Like in the pictures, you can see engineers are related with low voltage systems and supervising work done by technicians and other engineers. And you have to have in-depth reviewing sessions of maybe utility related reports as well, inspections by the engineers, chartered engineers on medium voltage systems and also high voltage systems. So those are the some of the caps of the consultants at work. So these are quite interesting to see actually, like when engineers pass out and when they join whatever the industry, you will learn from your seniors. You will learn from consultants or other senior engineers. You will gain those experiences within you. So I believe as fresh engineers, it will be beneficial to learn from your seniors. And as engineers, you will have to work on yourself also. It could be even protection relay studies and testing medium voltage panels, doing condition monitoring on electrical panels. So as you can see, doing thermography while learning the concepts and abide by the correct standards, you have to do certain tasks. So it will be under supervision of a senior engineer definitely, but you will have to take the burden on you to learn. So also apart from the work role, the dedicated work role, you have to engage with lectures and workshops. You have to share your knowledge with the university students, maybe also even postgraduate students. If you are expert in a particular area, then you will be invited to a certain to deliver certain areas. And also, if you are clients, the technicians, they will require you to conduct workshops as well. And in the last picture, you can see we are conducting internal professional development programs for our electrical engineers. So they are keen on developing their careers as being engineers in consultancy firm. So this is common to all other sectors. This you have to maintain this career guidelines in order to survive in the industry. So you'll be doing as engineers or any of these designing, simulation, coordinating with people, whatever the sector. You have to plan tasks, manage teams. Achieving KPI is really important in private sector. Those are key performance indices because private sector companies are profit oriented apart from practicing engineering. So you have to make sure that you are performing at your best. You have to learn yourself by following CPDs and other materials. And also you have to share back your knowledge to the industry and the colleagues as well. And you have to mentor the juniors, like what all we are doing here. We are sharing our experiences and we are guiding the fresh engineers and undergraduates with internship programs and other mentorships. So you will, throughout your career, you will evolve. Keep that in mind. You will never doing the same job role as you started. You will, with time, you will evolve throughout the time. So keep that in mind. Do not hesitate to get the workload on you, because you will change. You will change throughout your career and your responsibilities will change. Therefore, your entire life will change by the benefits you gain throughout the time. So your entire life will change. So you have to see far, because even the farthest target won't be visible at this moment, but you have to follow on a particular path and have to discover yourself. So therefore, the common question the undergraduates and even the fresh graduates have is, what's the best path? What's the best job? Where should I join? So keep that in mind, that there's no perfect path for you. There's no perfect path. Regardless of the private sector or the government sector, the only path will be what you draw yourself. So you have to perfect your own path. And last but not least, I have to say that when joining private sector, you will be impacted by your boss, because he's the one above you. There, unlike the government sector, there won't be any trade unions or other people who will support you to fight through the times in industry. So your boss will matter. So the right boss will make it a worth journey for you. And while thanking for my seniors for bringing me to this development and to keep me on developing, I really thank them, and thank you very much for inviting for this session. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Engineer Laksit. Even I am like inspired by your presentation again, and I feel more motivated again to perfect my part. May I
Thank you.
ask you a tough question? What was one of the tough career choices you have made?
A difficult question to answer in public. Actually, like my first career was Amity Power Consultants. After graduating and staying at home for a certain time, I joined Amity Power Consultants as an engineer, but later on there were certain proposals by other industries as well. But as you asked, the most challenging choices in my career is when I got selected to sit on electricity board. So it was a quite tough moment for me to decide whether to stay or join. So after assessing lots of parameters in my head, and without asking my, actually I never asked my seniors about that decision. You should take your own decisions, uh, and you have to talk with your family, and you have to get insight from the friends and colleagues in the industry as well who are already in electricity board. Like most of the people proposed me to join CEB actually, so I was in a hard position, but inside me I wanted to practice consultancy. So I had to take that hard decision to continue in consultancy field, because I'm engaging with several sectors. I'm even working with sometimes Ceylon Electric Board as well, and other private sector construction company in electrical, in local jobs and foreign jobs as well. But I really respect CB, and I really impressive about the work done. So I'm always keen on working with them as well in projects as most of the times. So that was the most hardest decision I had to take in my career. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I knew that story. That's why I wanted to ask that question to inspire the young ones, because sometimes you have to make tough career choices, and not always you have to ask your seniors or everyone around you, but you have to take your own decisions. Thank you very much, Engineer Laxi.
Thank you.
So now we are going to move to our next and our final panelist. He is the youngest panelist today, to be honest, and he's one of my juniors. When I was in the final year, he was in the first year. He is Dr. Najat Akram. He is also a member of IESL, IEEE, and IET. He holds a PhD in electrical and computer engineering from the Florida International University of United States in 2020. And he also passed out with a BSc in electrical and information engineering from the University of Ruhuna in Sri Lanka in 2016. Currently, he is working as a FPGA design engineer. I don't know the long word for it. He might explain it to you, for Jabil Inc. in New Jersey, United States. And he has authored and co-authored many articles. If you search on Google, you can see how many articles he has already published as an author. And it's all about multidimensional signal processing and hardware complexity reduction schemes for 5G and beyond that systems. He is also a songwriter, a photographer, and a blogger. And there's something a little bit more interesting about him, which I'd like to share next. When he wrote his thesis, he dedicated his whole PhD and to the citizens of Sri Lanka, to the people in Sri Lanka. So he made quite a few headlines in Facebook due to that. So without further ado, let me invite Dr. Najat Akram to present us with his experience. Over to you, Dr. Najat.
Thank you very much, Zara. Let me share my screen first. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So thank you very much for the wonderful introduction. I didn't expect that, to be honest. So okay. So let's start. I'm gonna start it like this. So if you are here, I'm pretty sure you are already engineers. You are already an engineer, or you are an engineer in progress. So at this point, I'm pretty sure when you were a kid, when you were asked the question, what do you want to become when you grow up, you must have answered saying, I want to be an engineer. I can say that it was the same with an accuracy of say like 90%. It must have been like that. So you wanted to be an engineer when you were a kid, and you have already become an engineer, or you are almost an engineer. So at this point, you should think, okay, you must be thinking that, okay, I am an engineer. What's next? Because no one asked you what are you going to do after becoming an engineer. So you are already there, or you are almost there. And what's next? At this point, you have two main paths to decide. Like you can either choose academia, or you can choose in the industry. So you must have heard a lot of things from your seniors, or from these talks, and some industrial professionals, or your lecturers or professors about both of these directions. So you must have, like, some of you might have already decided what you want to do, and some of you might not have decided what you want to do, or like still on the edge. So what I want to do right now with this presentation is to give you an insight about both of the aspects, and maybe help you with taking a decision. So first of all, I would like to have an overview about both of these two, about two of these areas. See, if you consider the academia, normally your responsibilities include applying for grants. Basically, you need to have funding, so you apply for grants and you conduct research and you publish papers. And if you become a professor, you teach courses and you mentor students. And also there are some administrative work associated with becoming an academic. And on the other hand, if you get into the industry, normally you apply your research. I'm talking about in an area where you do research in your job. So you normally apply the knowledge that you have gained from your academics to achieve organizational goals. And it's mainly profit driven, and you have to basically support the business plan of the company. And if you consider the collaborations, so normally in the academia, professors collaborate with other professors to come up with, or maybe to handle large projects. There you have the flexibility to choose when and where and with whom you would like to collaborate with. But in the industry, normally you are given a team, or you are placed in a team, and you are supposed to work with that team. So you don't have the choice of choosing a team or your collaborators, basically. And the workplace culture of academia is mainly research oriented, and you contribute to the knowledge. You keep on researching things. It might not be applied. You might not have any applications of those knowledge that you are finding in the near future, but you are just doing research for the sake of knowledge. But in the industry, normally your research work or your work that you are doing are deadline driven, and in most of the cases, what you do, all the research and the findings that you get from your research are being applied in real life applications, and that application happens immediately in most of the cases. On the other hand, if you consider the flexibility of academia, basically the academic, the life of an academic is pretty much flexible than the life of an industrial professional. But the thing is, since you are working on your own things in the academia, you sometimes work 24/7. But in the industry, if you get into a company which pays you to work from 9 to 5, you get to you work during your weekdays, but you have your rest, like you have your weekends off. This is not the same in all the cases, but most of the cases, this is the situation. And if you consider the intellectual freedom, you have more intellectual freedom in the academia than the industry. And in the academia, people kind of tend to choose academia because you get to work with young minds rather than working with a lot of old people and like grow old in a company behind a computer. Some people tend to do that because they like to work with young people and then keep on updating like their knowledge. But in the academia, normally you get access to state of the art resources, because those companies, the research that are carried out by the companies have high value, so they facilitate you with the state of the art equipment and resources. And in career advancement, if you consider the career advancement, I'm not 100% sure about the situation in Sri Lanka, but if you consider the situation in the US, normally it's a little bit hard to grow as an academic because you have to follow a certain route, and then it's hard to get tenured, which is becoming an associate professor. And it takes a while to become a full professor, and you have to keep on applying for grants. You have to fund your own research. Because it's not automatic. But if you consider the industry, if you're working for a particular department, you automatically get funding. Like you do your work and then you get funding. But it's a little bit different for an academic. And if you consider the salary, academics get slightly less paid than industrial professionals, because industrial professionals directly contribute to the profits of an organization. But academics, they contribute to the knowledge, but their work normally do not gain immediate profits to the world. but they contribute to the knowledge. So if you want to become an academic, the first thing which would come to your mind is like, okay, I have to do a PhD. Yes, you have to do a PhD, but why do you have to do a PhD? And let me begin like this. So when you are in your bachelor's, or if you do a master's, you normally learn some certain things which have already been found. And some people have done significant amount of research and they have created some knowledge, and you go there, you study it and you learn it. And then in your job, you go ahead and you apply it. But when you do a PhD, it gives you experience in carrying out detailed research, and you contribute to the knowledge, and you find some certain things, you create some knowledge. And basically, if I put it into words, you find new things, you carry out experiments, and you report data, and you learn something for yourself. And by the end of your PhD, you become a subject matter expert in that chosen narrow field of your studies. And once you become an expert in a particular area, you have a say in that particular area. So if you decide to work for the industry at one point, and you can negotiate, you can basically go ahead and say, okay, I would like to work with you, but you have to pay me this much, because like, you know it, you know how to do certain things, and you have proven and you have discovered certain things, and you are an expert because of that massive amount of knowledge. You have a say there, and you can negotiate because you are highly skilled. And some of the other people that I have seen, they use a PhD or higher education as a stepping stone for foreign employment opportunities, because that's the easiest path to follow, unless you are lucky enough to get your name picked in that green card lottery or something. And the other reason is, as compared to master's and bachelor's degrees, the easiest degree to get a scholarship for is a PhD. So if you know, like normally if you get selected to a good university to pursue your PhD, normally it comes with a scholarship. I'm talking about the US. So if you get into a good university in the US, it comes with a scholarship. That could come in come in numerous ways. I'll discuss those things in the later part of this presentation. But normally they come with funding. So some people use it as a stepping stone and an easier path to advance your career. So however, what I wanted to mention here is a PhD is not only for an academic career seeker. Even if you want to get into the industry, still pursuing a PhD could help you in numerous ways. Like, for example, there are certain people, including me, who have done a PhD and decided to go into the academia, go into the industry rather than the academia. So if you want to pursue a PhD in the US, there are certain advantages as well as disadvantages. So there are numerous countries that you can choose to pursue your high education. You can do it in Sri Lanka or another Asian country, Australia, and the Europe, and you can go to a Northern American country, for example, Canada or United States. But however, as compared to other countries, the US has the longest period or the longest duration for a PhD. It varies from 4 to 7 years normally. If you do a master's, sometimes it can go a little bit above 8 years, but normally for a direct PhD, it could vary from 4 to maybe 6 years, maximum 7 years. In my case, I finished my PhD in 4 years and like 3 months ish. So that was the time taken for my PhD. And unlike in some other countries, for example, in Australia, PhDs in the US consist of both coursework and research. But if you pursue a PhD in Australia, normally it's 99% research. So you get to study certain things which are related to your research. You go to, like, maybe you read certain articles and stuff and learn things which you have to apply for your research, but you don't have to follow certain coursework. You don't have to do certain coursework. But in the US, in most of the universities, it's mandatory to follow certain graduate level courses. Because you learn some new things, especially since you follow some graduate level courses. PhDs in the US have a higher reputation than most of the countries, and in most of the cases, I would say like 99% of the cases, you get a job immediately after your graduation. In my case, I got my first job offer like 4 months before my graduation. So normally, like if you pursue a PhD, you normally get a job. And if you don't get a job, you go ahead and do a postdoc and then come back to the industry. And if you consider the fundings of PhDs in the US, normally they are funded by government entities, for example, NASA, Department of Defense, and National Science Foundation, or some industrial companies. And scholarships for the students are provided via assistantships or fellowships. These assistantships are divided into two categories: research assistantships and teaching assistantships. So if you consider, so this is another question that I normally, that is normally thrown at me. So does the GPA matter? So if you consider countries like Australia, if you want to get into a good university in Australia, one of the main requirements they have is you have to have a really good GPA. So sometimes even a first class is not enough. Like, so you have to go for maybe like 3.8, 3.9 GPA in your bachelor's. But in the US, normally it's not the case. Like GPA plays a role, but as long as you have something about 3.4 or some 3.3 or 3.4 GPA, it would work. You might get the scholarship, but the admittance to a PhD program depends on whole another level, like a whole lot of other factors. For example, you have to have most of the universities need GRE scores. And if you have done publications, that play a vital role there. And during the so when you apply for the university, you have to provide a statement of purpose. That statement of purpose or the essay plays a vital role there too. If you write it properly, if you show that you have a good purpose to pursue this degree, it could help. And you might sometimes get into the program like easier. I mean, you might get into the program, but someone with a higher GPA but still does not have a good statement of purpose might not get into the get into the program. So it's not just the GPA that this determines what if you would get into the program or not. So I told you about two paths that students are being two methods that students are being funded. The first one is research assistantships and via research assistantships, and the second one is via teaching assistantships. So normally the research assistants get paid a little bit more than teaching assistants, because research assistants are being funded by grants. So normally professors apply for grants, and then once they get the grant to perform a particular task or to complete a particular project, from that grant, the professor pays the student who is working as a research assistant. So these are directly coming from grants. These salaries are a little bit higher as compared to teaching assistants, because teaching assistants are being funded by the department. It's basically like a probationary lecturer kind of a thing, or maybe like in Sri Lanka, after the graduation, you work as a demonstrator or something. So it's basically the same thing. University is funding the student. So because of that, the salaries are a little bit lower, but in some universities, both of these salaries are same. So as a research assistant, you have to do research related to your PhD, sometimes a little bit more than that, or maybe whatever your professor asks you to do. And you have to write project proposals to get grants. Let's say like you are being funded by a grant, and if your professor needs to get more students and he needs to get more grants, so you have to help him with by writing grants. And you have to do collaborative research to help your supervisor. And teaching assistants are they normally grade, they conduct lab sessions, they do tutorials, and sometimes they even teach classes. And the thing is, a lot of students from Sri Lanka and India and like most of the South Asian and Asian countries come to the US to pursue their PhDs. And what I have seen is they normally don't live a luxurious life. They use shared livings and stuff. But in most of the cases, I have seen most of the students save over 500 USDs per month. So sometimes when I listen to the final year undergraduates or like fresh graduates, when I ask them, why don't you do a PhD or something, their question, the immediate response would be, okay, I need some money. I have to support my family. But if you consider the life of a PhD student in a good university in the US, no, they normally easily save like around 100,000 rupees in Sri Lankan currency. So that's not an excuse. That's what I wanted to say. Like there are students whom I personally know have saved around $1,000 per month. That is normally like even higher than the amount that you get paid as a fresh graduate in most of the cases, right? Like $200,000 rupees you wouldn't get paid. And then, so advantages of foreign employment. So I told that some people use PhDs as a way to get in as a stepping stone for foreign employment. So, so since I have worked with some of the, I have had some internships in Sri Lanka while I was in Sri Lanka as an undergraduate. I have worked with some certain companies which are known to be really good. And I have seen the nature of the work that they are carrying out. And also I have had an internship at MathWorks, if you are familiar with it, MATLAB software. So I have had an internship there, and then I have been working with JBill for over 6 months now. So from my experience, as compared to Sri Lankan companies and the industry in Sri Lanka, one advantage I have seen is like if you like foreign employee, like as an advantage of foreign employment, you get to expose to the state of our technologies, because Sri Lanka is a poor country. We don't have access to most of the infrastructure or most of the hardware stuff, and especially if you are intended to work in the low level hardware stuff, like you don't have that much of access in Sri Lanka. And another thing is like you get to have more job satisfaction because you get to contribute to some certain things, you get to invent certain things. But in Sri Lanka, what I have seen in most of the cases is like you work in the application layer. All the research that you are doing is done in the application layer. But if you go down a little bit to the physical layer, the work that you normally do is like basically assembling stuff and maintaining things. So like I personally believe, like I personally have got more job satisfaction by inventing certain things and by doing new things. And as compared to Sri Lanka, like obviously foreign employment brings a lot of brings higher salaries and the quality of life is high. And I personally believe that you can contribute to the economy of Sri Lanka in a much better way than working for a random, like a small company in Sri Lanka, like some, like I'm not talking about everyone, but some of the people, they are not very much satisfied about their work, and they're just going for the work for the sake of going there and work maybe 9 to 5 and just come back, and like they are tired and they don't even have proper proper accommodations and proper food and stuff. So they are not happy about the work that they are doing. As compared to that, I personally believe that you can contribute to the economy of Sri Lanka in a much better way if you work outside the country, because thereby then you can send some foreign exchange to the country, and that will contribute to the country's economy a lot, especially in this point of time. So this is something I always say. Sometimes you can help the country more effectively from outside than staying in. That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Najat. A quick question to you before going on to the Q&A session. Is it hard to get a job in like a foreign country? What are the job opportunities? How about the job opportunities? Is it hard or easy?
So normally, let me answer it with my experience in the US. So normally US requires a degree you have obtained from a US institution to get a job there. So if you even let's say if you have got your degree from a foreign institute, like let's say Sri Lanka or some other country, it's not very easy for you to get a job directly. And the other thing is you need to get working visa. So there are two things. So the first one is getting the job, and the second one is getting the working visa thing. So it's easier if you have done a degree in the US, some kind of a course in the US, so that you can get the working visa and the and the job. So if you have done that, it's not very hard to get a job there.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So with that, we will move on to the Q&A session. I hope our panelists are still there, and we still have 279 participants altogether. So there are quite a few interesting questions popping up, and I think let me direct this question to Engineer P.W. Sarath. I think these are like two important questions. So some students are asking, sir, can you explain the career path of a network engineer?
Yes, career path to network engineer. That a question is very open question. So is first thing I want to find out is who is a network engineer. Yes, network engineer means actually normally you have to deal with the network designing, planning, maintenance, and operations. So to be a network engineer in Sri Lankan context, the places like SLT, Dialog, or Mobitel like this, there are also we call the network engineers. Designation changed now from the telecom engineer to network engineer. So career path is that to be a network engineer, there is you must be very conversant on the telecommunication basic principles. In addition to that, if you can get some certificates like the Cisco networking and the other networking features, if you can certification course, I am telling, it is in order diploma even certification course, it will be very vital. And above all, you have to always constantly be in touch with the network elements. That is normally when you follow that kind of certification courses, that definitely that is a hands-on experience, or your troubleshooting the hands-on experience on troubleshooting that will be enhanced. So this is my answer for that, because a network engineer, it is all a telecom engineer can become a network engineer. Only thing is you need certain skills, both the network security, network topology, and some other network operational principles. So my advice is to always do a certification course after your graduation or before your graduation, if you can do that better.
Sir, thank you. There's another important question with regard to certification. So one student is asking, in the means of enhancing our skills, is it acceptable to do online courses offered from Coursera, Udemy, edX, etc. with certificates? Is it worth spending on them? So I think they need to get a better idea of what kind of certifications they have to get.
Yes, now there are a lot of certification courses are coming. So it means, yes, correct. That is, thing is, firstly, they have to select that what are the professional certification, so now the certification courses professionally accepted. For example, see in the Cisco network certificate, Cisco certifications are worldwide accepted. In the Cisco mainly come for the networking side, and there are some other courses as well. So thing is, you will have to yeah, you can follow even online. Some courses they go online. It depends on the which sub-discipline you are focusing at. For example, you want to be a data center, you want to master, or you will have to to be a network engineer, especially, or data center engineer. So then there are some other courses like the uptime certifications. So this kind of similar courses, the network security, etc. That are the requirements. So thing is when you select a course, please be mindful that it receives international recognition. It is not the degree or diploma. It is a certification, mean it is another license. I am telling it is a license course. The only thing, through that license, you will gain certain skills. Yeah. But be mindful that most of the certification courses, you will have to update. So you have to validate annually, or sometimes not annually, sometimes every 3 years, or sometimes every other year. That's it.
Thank you, sir. And there are a lot of questions regarding to the IESL memberships as well. I think, dear students, we are having a separate session on the IESL membership and the accreditation process in a separate webinar. So we will be answering those questions. But there is one question that I would like to take up with Engineer Sarath, if you don't mind, sir.
Yes, why not?
Can you describe the path to having an engineering job in another country? Example, graduate with an IESL membership. I wish to work in Australia. What are the steps?
Well, now say I can answer this question this way. Now, most of the state university degree programs, most of them are created under the Washington Accord. The Washington Accord accreditation means the Washington Accord comes with the, it is actually Washington Accord accreditation comes with the International Engineer Alliance. International Engineer Alliance is formed with many countries like India, Sri Lanka, Canada, USA, etc. And they have defined their one domain. If you speak in the technical language, domain. So if anyone hold a degree in the Washington Accord, that is you are under Washington Accord domain. Right? If that particular person wants to go to Australia, that particular in Australia, if you have a Washington Accord degree, when you go to the Australia, you don't need to sit another more exams to qualify. It means it is accepted under the Washington Accord. But be mindful that in Australia, some states, they may ask some additional certification course you have to follow in Australia, like the safety. It may be vary from the county to county, right? But your first degree, normally they will accept. That is the advantage of following the Washington Accord degree. I think I have clarified his question.
Thank you very much, sir.
It means the one Washington Accord degree means if you have a Washington Accord degree, if even you go to the Canada, or even go to USA, or even go to Hong Kong, normally they don't check your credentials once again. They know you are coming with a Washington Accord degree. But in addition to that, sometimes they may ask to top up courses like a certification courses that may be required to practice as an engineer in their country. That is a different story. But your first degree, they normally accept it, provided that you follow the Washington Accord degree.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So I'll point this next question to Engineer Industry Galagi. Engineer Industry Galagi, are you in forum?
Yeah.
Sir,
Yeah.
no. So some undergraduates are asking, are there opportunities to get our undergraduate industrial training in power plants?
Normally, that is possible. But during this pandemic situation, they are not allowed to outsiders to enter the power plants. So maybe that government give that the relaxation they can get through the, but they have to get through that university. University must select those graduates and send it to their names to the our training department. Then they can get it.
So another question. As undergraduates, we lack practical knowledge more than theoretical. How will it impact in our career in the industry? Will companies recruit us? How do we overcome?
That is normal. When you get driving license, you know that how to drive everything, but while you're driving only, you will get the real experience. So it is normal to everyone. Don't worry about that. That, as I said earlier, that you in the university you have scale models and you can have a very good theoretical knowledge. While going on that industry, you will get that knowledge. Don't worry about that. That's the starting point.
Another question, sir, for you. Sir, can you explain what electrical engineers have to do in maintenance, supply, and trading sectors?
Maintenance,
yes. Supply, and trading sectors.
Trading sector, mainly the maintenance section, they have to carry out the maintenance activities according to the manufacturer's recommendations, and they have recorded it and and if you have to base on the time base or a condition monitoring base. Then the supplies industry, normally government or other industries, they send that bidding documents. They have with their specifications. They have to fill that they have to select the product with that comply with the specifications. Normally, that in supply section engineers should do.
Thank you very much, sir. So I will direct this next question to Engineer Lakse. So, because I think you will have a better idea about this. What are the current research areas in solar PV and automation systems? Research areas.
Yeah, sorry, I just unmuted. Yeah, in research areas, now we are facing a lot of problems with the storages. How to integrate storages with the solar PV systems. So it's a booming area which is still under research. For example, iron flow batteries would be a solution for particular areas, but might not be the best solution for solar PV. And also how the stability studies, how with the integration of solar PV into the system, we are facing lots of, I think CB is facing lots of problems with the stability issues. So mitigating these issues with the improvement of the inverters and the protection systems is also under research. And going towards the solar panels to itself, even the solar technology is also evolving, how the solar cells are improving, the efficacies, how to improve, they are still under research actually. They are going under actually semiconductor industry. I remember that IESL also had a session on this particular technology with an invited guest from United States researcher. So likewise, this industry is evolving. And the the next question is on solar, and other question is on
No, that was about like what are the research areas?
areas. Okay.
Yeah, and automation, solar
Automation.
PV and automation.
Okay. In Sri Lanka, actually, research on automation is in academia level. For instance, even in automation, how the actuators could be more efficiently integrated into our systems. For example, even in final year projects and PhD degrees, there are researchers into how to accommodate these efficiency of moving parts, and how the bilateral control could be implemented with automation. This automation could be industrial automation, and also it gets into biomedical as well. So automation industry in Sri Lanka, in private sector, actually, they are not much putting effort into researching in academia level. They are merely integrating PLCs and other actuators and electrical components to get the work done, to make a facility. But research areas are more focused in actually foreign context. In Sri Lanka, that could be the answer. But if you're interested in automation in foreign context, you can join with the automation industry. With there are lots of PLCs in different areas. Not even in manufacturing industry, there are also automation for railway as well. So there are multiple avenues for automation enthusiasts as well, because I myself was so interested in automation during the university time, because I had some background from industry with my family about steel industry and those automation stuff. So I was keen on working on them, but I had to shift my enthusiasm towards electrical engineering practices.
So I will direct this question to you as well, because I know you researched a lot regarding this topic when you were making that tough decision. what do you know about the salary scales in the public and private sectors, like for an electrical engineer,
I think,
fresh graduate?
yeah, you can answer about, I think, public sector.
Yes,
uh, they have actually stipulated starting salary in
yes.
public sector
Around 120,000
or
approximately.
120,000. Like public sector now, actually it's improving, and when they are publishing the notices about the vacancies, you can also find the salary scales in public sector. But in terms of private sector, they are not revealing the salary during advertising. It heavily depends on your skills, actually, what you can contribute to the organization. In electrical industry, like I listed out in the presentation, from consultancy to maintenance, operations, the salary scale varies enormously. Uh, it could be starting from sometimes some companies starting from 60,000 also. But the what you have to think is, over the time, how the salary scale will increase, how the annual increments will come in, other benefits come in, so the total package, how it increase. When it comes to maintenance, since it involves more like 24/7 job at a particular factory, and quite in between hardships, so you'll be definitely paid more, maybe even nearly 150,000 also. So sometimes as starting salary for very hardships, because they are not offering you a salary for nothing. Keep that in mind. Private companies will definitely offer you a salary to get something out of you, to scrape something out of you. So they will not give you salary for nothing. So on the reverse basis, when you perform also, you can also show the company that how important you are, and they will come up with their own salary increments even without you asking. So I think that's how you should direct your mindset towards the industry. As fresh graduates, I shall emphasize this. Unless you have severe financial problems when joining the industry, like I explained, keep the mindset about the total career path. Your finances will come up eventually, and no matter how much you will earn initially, there will be outflow streams as well. So no matter how much you earn, there will be outflows as well. So you won't be stashing everything within you. So when you face the life, and eventually you will understand these things. Actually, it's up to you to decide the salary scales and to discuss with the organizations. That's actually a hard question to answer.
Yes,
But
I know it's
and
true.
during interviews also, we get this problem
Mhm.
with the students. We also try to increase our salary scales, and we have also increased our salary scales compared to the past. It's really satisfactory now.
Yeah.
So it actually depends across
Mhm.
the disciplines.
Yes, so it's better not to like focus on the salary, but more on your development, because if you are irreplaceable, then maybe your organization will consider increasing your salary.
Definitely.
Yeah,
So another question, yes, yes, sir.
Sarah,
Yes,
can I
sir.
add something? What that
Yeah, sure, sure. Go
in
ahead, sir.
in as your moderators. So in private sector normally, that everything is decided on the performance based. You have to perform. Your performance is decided based on the objectives you set in the annual business plans and etc. Sometimes you can't leave any excuse.
Mhm.
So, but in this, if you are a good performer, your company will be high performing. Then definitely company will decide your salary point and increment, etc. But whereas in public, you have the fixed salary and annual increment. So I cannot say what is good and what is bad. It all depends on the person. That's why you have to choose the. You have to take a decision in between that. Between the you have to Sometimes you have to vacillate between two options, but you will have to sometimes for the research purpose, of course, some government departments are very good for doing the research. I know some, but if you are a good taskmaster, the best thing is the private sector. That's my opinion.
Thank you very much, sir. So another question to Engineer Laksit, because he spoke about the Colombo Port City. So some are interested to know, will there be job opportunities for Sri Lankans in the Colombo Port City?
Actually, I'm not the authorized person to reveal that. Anyway, like
Okay.
my exposure was designing the medium voltage electrical demand and medium voltage system during the initialization in 2014 and then 2015. So we had to work with foreign consultants and architects as well. So to answer the question, that's a political question actually.
Then let's leave it. Then let's
Leave it
out.
as it is.
Yes.
But the thing is, I believe that our industry should try to get jobs there, because it's a vast pond of opportunities there, because several types of buildings are coming in, and I don't know about how the government will go towards that, but there are lots of good opportunities for our engineers there, because like we involved in designing phase, so why not our engineers can involved in during the implementation of this stage, because it will go until 2030-40. This project will go on in 3 phases. So with the politics, this whole thing will change.
So just be prepared. Just
Yes.
yeah. And one more question. Now you know that we have like Cisco certificates and Red Hat, Linux, all those for network. But when it comes to electrical engineering, do you know have any idea about the like certifications or qualifications skills our undergraduates can gain?
Yeah, there are lots of even free courses online, and also paid courses. When we are like, if the question is from a undergraduate who's about to pass out, so you cannot follow IESL CPD courses at the moment, but because you are not having IESL. But if you're undergraduate, if you're keen on working in industry in a particular stream, you can follow courses. There are there are no certifications like engineer Sarath explained that Cisco networking. But you can gain the skills from different courses, and you can show the industry that you are worth to recruit. If you show that you are an enthusiast about power systems, or you have done work in simulations, and if you got this equivalent experience as an engineer who had maybe 1 year, 10 year in industry, so why not industry would go for him? Definitely he will grab the opportunity. But going merely for certifications is not required for private sector. Having the BSc degree completed is the primary requirement for a fresh graduate. And in the meantime, you have to follow masters. It will come to you. That thirst for following CPD courses will come to you eventually. And other CPD courses by IESL you have to follow. These are all in private sector, because in private sector we are not giving incentives for following CPD courses or getting charter. So but that's just for your own career development, and maybe to get your work done smart and being independent. Like the more you get independent from the company, then you will develop your career as well. Otherwise you will be solely dependent on the your boss and the salary schemes, and you have to go after him. That's not the way a person should actually work in the industry. So regarding the certification courses, there's no requirement of certification courses other than the degree, but following those CPDs will be important for you to get the next job sometimes, and also to improve yourself within the industry, to gain your position in the field as well. That's my answer for the question.
Yeah, and
Thank
Sarah,
you.
I
Yes, sir.
want to add what that Lakshit said, that what I mean for the certification courses, Lakshita, normally in a telecommunication networking field, Indians are heavily dominating. Yeah, because even you come to the Sri Lanka Cisco operations, so Cisco Juniper, mainly that is they are from the Indians, not the USA guys. Yeah, but because of actually when you want to be a network professional engineer, that is the some certification it is a must. Otherwise, Cisco and the other Juniper like the giant Huawei, like they will not recruit it. Of course, you need skills but in the heavy current industry, it is totally different. As you explain it, more required about the CPD courses. So, but in the coming to the network side, my question is that as someone posted the question is coming to the network side, then definitely they accept the not only first degree, but they will ask for the certificate, especially when you want to work in the Cisco labs and Juniper at the American or some other international companies. But and especially for the even you want to be an engineer in the data center, like the dialogue sometimes when you want to get the certification for the network in data center, normally that is the that is the some people that are coming in the certification agencies like the Bureau Veritas and the other companies and the some certifications for that tier 3 or tier 4 operations. What they is asking that is the professional qualification of the engineer. They ask certifications having a certification course followed by the engineers, international certification course. That is a must requirement for the networking side, not all, not the all other disciplines side. That's why I want to my answer. I want to more deliberate on my answer.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. So, Engineer Lakshit, then we'll move on to Dr. Najat next. Thank you, Engineer Lakshit. Dr.
Thank you.
Najat. So, someone is asking, what are courseworks? What do you mean by courseworks?
Okay, so during your bachelor's, you normally follow some certain courses like introduction level courses, right? So you normally do, for example, in telecommunication, you might have done digital communication and signals and systems and those basic courses. But if once you go into the PhD, you get to follow some graduate level courses, which are more advanced. Like let's say you follow certain digital communication courses, but the course content is much more advanced than the ones you have been following during your bachelor's. Like, so I like there are some people who are following who do masters in Sri Lanka while you're doing your job. You're doing part-time masters, right? So I think you might have done something like that too, Sarah. So during your masters, you get to follow certain courses. Like similar to that, you get to follow some like subjects, modules, and you get to do projects, individual projects, which are more advanced than the ones you have been doing during your bachelor's. And in most of the times, what happens is the individual project that you do for your course leads to a publication, maybe an IEEE publication. So like they're of that level. You normally do something entirely by yourself, maybe introduce something or like invent something as a part of your course. So it's basically similar to the bachelor's, like for the undergraduate level courses, but it's a little bit advanced than that.
Thank you. There's another interesting question to you. If we want to go for a PhD directly after BSc, what are the things we can do during our BSc to improve our chance to get a scholarship?
First thing is the GPA. You need to have a good GPA. So I would say anything about 3.4 would be fine. 3.3, 3.4 would be fine. But if you can focus on getting something a little bit more than that, like for example, like 3.7 or something, a first class would be more convenient and it would help you a lot in finding a good scholarship. And the second thing is doing publications. So I think, as I remember, I had two or three IEEE publications by the time I finished my undergraduates, but I have known people who have had like 5, 6 IEEE publications by the time they finished their bachelor's and got into the higher education, whatever the course that they have chosen to. So those are the two main things. And so if you want to do GRE and stuff, like let's say if you want to get into a university in the US, you have to do GRE. And studying for GRE takes some time. You have to remember some words, you have to memorize some words, you have especially be prepared for the
What does it like means? GR?
GRE. So that is
GRE.
the exam that you had to do. The GRE exam has three main components. The first one is verbal reasoning, and the second one is quantitative reasoning, and then the third one is analytical writing. So like in the verbal reasoning part, it's like, so you have to, like for example, some of the questions are like you have to fill the blanks with the most appropriate word. So you would get words, like you would get a blank to fill, and that would have maybe like 5 words which basically mean the same thing but slightly different. So you have to choose the most appropriate word. And some people, they study for the GRE exam for like, I don't know, 1 year, 1.5 years or something like that, because you have to improve your vocabulary to be able to face it. And the second thing is the quantitative reason part. That's easy. Like if you have graduated from a government university in Sri Lanka, you have a good IQ. So if you have a good IQ, it's pretty much like similar to the grade 5 scholarship exam, but a little bit harder questions. And you have to struggle with the time. You don't have much time to write down and solve the equations and stuff, but you have to do it using your mind. It's like an IQ test. And then the analytical writing part. The analytical writing part consists of a case. So you have to analyze it, and then like it's like a case study. You have to present your opinion about it, and be more analytical about it. So those 3 sections are there. So you have to so one thing you can do is getting yourself ready for that exam. And by the time you are in the final year, or maybe right after the graduation, you can face the exam and get over with it. Like if you have a good GRE score, it would help you a lot in finding a good scholarship. So those are the 3 main things I would recommend. And you have to work on your statement of purpose for one thing.
Thank you very much, Dr. Najat. So I think most of the questions are related to IESL accreditation and educational, like the qualifications for the IESL membership. I think we will address it in a separate webinar than this. So it's another question to Dr. Najat finally. Is a PhD overqualified for the industry? So you are a doctor, but at the same time you are working in the industry. Is a PhD overqualified?
I would say yes and no, because that depends on your job, the opportunity that you're applying for. There has been one incident when the recruiter had told me that you are overqualified for this job, because say if you have an engineering degree, and you intended to go to the industry, there are certain things that you can work on, right? For example, you can work in the maintenance part, you can work in the research area, maybe you can go for like technical or like engineering management related areas and marketing stuff, and anything, pretty much anything you want to do. So there are certain places you can work as an application engineer. So there are a lot of people who are working as application engineers. So if you get into a job as such, the thing is like your engineering skills are going to be applied, plus your interpersonal and other people skills are going to be applied. So in such a case, you don't necessarily have to have a good technical background for that. You need to know what you are doing, obviously, but you don't have to be very thorough in the backgrounds or the research aspects of that particular area. So if you have a PhD and if you decide to go into an application engineering position, maybe it would be a little overqualified. Or maybe if you decide to get into the maintenance part of an engineering thing, would be overqualified. But if you decide to getting into like say design aspects or planning stuff, then I don't think you would be overqualified. So you have to decide what you are going to do. So based on your intended job, I think you would, I mean, most of the cases you wouldn't be overqualified, but for application related stuff, you would be overqualified. That would be the simplest answer.
Thank you very much. Now I'm going to like direct this question to all panelists. starting from engineer Sarath Vikramasuriya. It's very challenging to get a job in the industry today. The competition is high. So how can we stand out from the crowd? Engineer
Well,
Sarath?
yes, it is a very a difficult question in answer sometimes. But I can put this way. Now, it all depends on the economy of the country. So therefore, a lot of challenges are coming. One thing is you have the job market. The job market is now still limited, slowly growing up. And second thing is now number of engineers passing out. Of course, it is increased. So there is a definite demand and supply. Then, but we cannot this stage solve macroeconomic problems. But thing is this, you have the competition. But in the competition, I'm not going to say whether level playing field or not. But still, that is the competition to have the face for the competition. So you must need your competency skills with the competencies, of course, skills, knowledge, and attitudes. So the thing is this, when you only thing you must be a person, you should have a thorough focus and you must concentrate something and you must gain the knowledge. So therefore, only that is the only way to win through the competition. But still, I believe that if you are an enthusiastic and committed person, and if you are committed and enthusiastic, and you always that is if you are a good risk taker, which means you can be successful, then you can succeed in each and every endeavor in your life. So similar to it apply to finding a job as well. So finally, you have the good knowledge, being a graduate. Then you will have to develop the skills on top of that. Above all, you must be a positive minded person. So that is those are the requirements to compete with that. So yes, there is a tough situation comes, unlike nowadays. Many people, limited opportunities, right? But sometimes some people, they can become entrepreneurs, which means if you have more innovative skills. So which means those the good old days, we seek jobs, but now we have to create jobs. So sometimes you can start in a small company to provide a small solution for a supermarket. That finally you can end up with a billion. So those are the true. Sometimes there are cases. Of course, there are golden opportunities as well. You will grab these opportunities when time comes. You should not wait. You have to seek for the opportunities, and you have to create the jobs by yourself. That's my answer.
Thank you, sir. And thank you very much. Engineering industry, what are your thoughts on the same question? How to stand out? Muted, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, now okay.
Yeah. Same issue was there when we were passed out in 1985. Very little job opportunities for mechanical engineers in our batches. So they have joined with those days, the garment industry just started. They have joined with the garment industries. Some of my batchmates are now owners of the government factories. So it will be there time to time with the development of the country's economy and number of graduates passing out to overcome. Only few, say, when you are going for an interview and if you show your capabilities, only few of them will be selected. So that race you have to win, you have to improve your your abilities to perform that, and you have to show that you are capable for that job at the interview. So and as I said, that in the government in jobs, they will have a marking scheme, so they will give marks for the extracurricular activities also. So if you have we already have some experience, you prepare with that certificates also. Then if you show those things, the maybe the games or the social activities, they will give marks. So it's better to collect now, and when it will be it will be definite benefit during the interviews.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So you know how to stand out in the public sector interviews now. So moving on to Engineer Laksit, how do you think you can stand out when it comes to the private sector?
Like engineer Sarath explained, it's a hard question, like specifically during this pandemic times where job opportunities are quite lessening in private industry. But it varies actually depending on the sector we are discussing. When it comes to consultancy, we are not seeing, like in electrical engineering, we are not seeing quite impact here. But when it comes to architecture and other design sectors, they are facing some problems with the economy, which highly impact the projects which are to be launched uh, with the indefinite minds of the investors. They are not offering the jobs to Sri Lanka. So that's the line of the chain which impact our fresh graduates as well. But if you need to stand out, uh, your first interface is a job interview now. So what you have to show is that you're willing to stay with the company first. Like you have to show that you are up to take the challenges of the company, because definitely the company should first describe the nature of the company and what sort of job role they have to deliver. You have to ask these questions during interviews. You have to grab the knowledge without just saying the yes to a maybe 200,000 salary or 150,000 salary. You have to ask what's the job role you have to take on. And if you're like, even for a salary like say earlier, maybe 30,000 salary, you have to ask what's the job role, and you have to, if it's coincides with your interest, then you have to accept that. If it coincides with your passion and your future plans, you have to accept that. And also, most importantly, they will, when they ask technical questions, you have to show them that you are analytical person. You don't have to answer a question with the end result. You don't have to show the equal this 2 plus ij or something. You have to show them what's your approach, because this approach is built during the university times and your education, based on your IQ and your approach towards other problems. So it will definitely impact your career life as well. So they will foresee that and assess you based on your analytical skills, how you approach a problem. So keep that in mind when you face interviews as well. And if you are actually willing to take jobs during these tough times, then you might have to accept a given salary scale, right? If that job suits your career path which you try to pursue, so you have to grab it, because there are limited opportunities. You have to grab the opportunities. Once you gain experience in that particular sector, you might grow yourself, or depending on the future opportunities, you can change that. Not a huge career change, but there are sub routes in the career which you can pursue. And talking about our times, when we graduated, the recruitment after graduation was like around 40%. That was like around 40% until 6 months. So we also discussed with our coordinators in the university, we discuss with our lecturers what to do to this problem, and likewise, because all the bigger jobs, initially we need to get this resolved as well. So after 6 months only, almost all the graduates got the jobs, but some jobs were not very engineering demanding jobs sometimes, but they had to take some jobs, but now they are in good positions. To tell about my batchmates, like around half or like 40% are in Silicon Electricity Board as well. So I'm really proud of them. So they are in good positions now, big guys and girls now, and also private sector as well. They have reached good levels in terms of finances and also their career. They have achieved a lot. They got their charter, they got their postgraduates as well. So uh, grab whatever available right now which suits you, and how to grab the job is the path which I explained earlier when it comes to private sector, because we are not uh, keen on, like, we don't some like it depends on the company, like we are not scoring the certificates actually, but doing some data fusion among everything, considering analytical skills and also the attitudes. uh, so we take a big picture of them, like if they suit our company and if they are willing to stay with us. So you have to show that you are willing to stay, not to lie them, not to lie the company, not lying during the interviews,
Be
because
genuine. Be
be genuine.
genuine.
Because if you lie in an interview, maybe the next generation will also be regarded with that same aspect. Maybe the because we are seeing this trend among generations, like how they face interviews, and likewise, because we insist them to be genuine. Like if you're not agreed with the salary scale, just say no. If you're not interested with the job role, just say no. Because just be genuine during interviews, and from your side, try to improve your analytical skills. That's the answer I should give.
Thank you very much, Engineer Lakshit. I think
I,
all, yes,
Tara, I
yes.
want to emphasize what he says. That is Lakshita, that is the more important part is you must show that you are a result-oriented person.
Yes, sir.
You have to demonstrate that you are result-oriented, because private sectors, mainly even not private sector, government sector, that they see the people who are result-oriented. That as industry also, engineering industry also said, that it comes with some extracurriculum activities. So you can do, not time can you have to do the sports in the national level. Even sometimes in the university level also it is more enough. Even without even colors, you can build up the leadership skills. That's the most important.
Yes.
Also, like, you can volunteer in IEEE, IESL, all the student chapters, and gain other experiences as well in leadership.
Yes, because there are indications that you are involved with the society, and also like
That
you are a
you're
multitasker.
not only a bookworm.
Yeah, you're not a studious person. You are a multitasker, that you can work with a team. You can work to commands. If you have been in a being a player in a team sports, like I also did tennis in university, so we had to. It was kind of a project all 4 years. So winning the slugs against universities, University of Peradeniya and University of Runa, University of Colombo. So it was a big, tough project for us. So that experience is really good for you, for fresh people as undergraduates. We are also promoting you to get involved with those activities as well. Not just to get scores, but that will orient you towards the career as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So time is running out. I would like to quickly ask Dr. Najat to share his thoughts about how to stand out.
Yeah, so I agree with the other panelists regarding that. So one more thing is like, so I have identified one thing as like, if you networking is like one of the most important things. So if you take part in extracurricular activities such as IEEE, IED, IESL, ISEC, and all these things, you get to build a nice network. In my case, I got after my bachelor's, by the time I graduated, I had a job offer standing, and even after my PhD, I had a job offer standing by the time I graduated. So like I graduated during the pandemic. So like, but still I somehow managed to do that. So my method of doing that was, one thing was networking. And the second thing is like, so I worked on my resume a lot. So like, it's not just like, I want to apply and then I created the resume and submit it, but I have been working on it for a long time. So one thing I have to tell to all the fresh graduates and like finally undergraduates is like, work on your resume well. I think once Zahra and I discussed about this too, because like some of them, they instantly come up with something and put their information together and submit a resume, but it's not up to the standard. And like when you apply for a job, maybe your dream job, with that resume, like say if it has grammar mistakes or spelling mistakes or formatting issues, then it immediately gets rejected. So work on your resume from the beginning, and like you find it interesting to attend to that thing. Like, like when you start working on your resume for like maybe keep on working on it for maybe 2-3 years, you see what are the missing points, what are the things you need to add there. So that's one thing I would say. And facing interviews, the Gavel Club or Toastmasters have it was very helpful for me. I founded the Gavel Club in University of Roanoke in the engineering faculty. I was the founding president there. So it helped me a lot. So especially in facing interviews and stuff. So it helps you to improve your public speaking skills as well as presentation skills and all. And another thing is having a backup plan. So normally in my case, I always have a plan, and the second, like, backup plan, like, plan A, plan B, plan C, and so on. Because say like, if you know that you are going to graduate in, let's say, in a month, 2 months, 6 months or something. So when you know that, it's better to start finding a job in advance. Say like, don't wait until the last moment to find it. That's one thing I have seen in most of the graduates when they are complaining that they don't have a job. Like, one thing I would say, okay, when did you start finding a job? You can't wait until the last moment or the last semester and then start finding a job. So you know that you're going to graduate and then you start finding a job, and you should have a plan. Okay, what if I don't find a job? What's the next thing I could do? And then even if that thing fails, what's the next thing I'm going to do? So maybe have like 2 or 3 backup plans, and then proceed. Like, even if you don't find a job, you will still have something else to do. You wouldn't be staying home like jobless. So so yeah, those are the things that I would want to do. And yeah, one more important thing that engineer Lasit said, right? Like Lasit said, don't lie in your interview, because you are the one who has to face it. Like, once you get the job, if you had lied in your interview, you wouldn't be able to perform your task. So don't lie, but be prepared.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nachar. So we are going to end the session soon, Q&A session soon. So before that, I would like to thank all the panelists. I would like to invite you all to switch on your cameras for a little bit, because we need to take a screenshot of all of us. Engineer Sarath, please don't leave. Bear with me for a few seconds or minutes. So Engineer Sasindu, can you please share the tokens of appreciation? And yes, Engineer Venura will spotlight all our panelists. So I would like to invite you all to pose nicely for a photo. Engineer Sarath, this is your token of appreciation, sir. Thank you very much for being with us here today. We highly appreciate your presence. And I know we will invite you for a separate session on the IESL related queries very, very soon. So stay, keep in touch, sir. Thank you very much.
And you all are welcome.
Thank you very much, sir. And next, I would like to present this token of appreciation to Engineer Indra Sri Galage. Again, thank you very much, sir. You have been very busy during your last few years as the power plant manager of Ceylon Electric Board's power plant, Lakwiche power plant. But I know that you have a lot of knowledge and experience to share with our young engineers. So please keep in touch with us and continue to contribute as a resource person to the IESL and IESL YMS. We look forward to be in touch with you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. I hope so.
And next, I would like to thank, present this token of appreciation to Engineer Laksit Sirisena. So it's been a great, very quick discussion that he quickly accepted the invitation and prepared to be present here as a panelist today. And I know that now you have seen he has a lot of insight and experience and knowledge to share about the private sector. So Laksit, this is your token of appreciation.
Thank you for inviting me for this opportunity.
And last but not least, because he's the youngest, he's the last, Dr. Najat Akram. I present you because he's in Sri Lanka these few days because he came for his wedding. He got married recently, but still during his honeymoon period, he has accepted our invitation and contributed as a panelist. So it's a very dedicated person. Thank you very much. Here's your token of appreciation.
Thanks for inviting.
So with that, I conclude the Q&A session because it's already 8:35. There are so many questions and I will be sure take care to answer all those questions offline and post it in a suitable manner, maybe in our Facebook page. So because of time is running out, I have to conclude the session because we have to give this Zoom webinar application to the another person we have borrowed it. So I would like to conclude my session as the moderator, and I will be handing over the controls back to Ms. Tanya.
Thank you, Engineer Zara. So I think after a good long hour of informative and productive discussion, we are almost heading towards the end of the session. So to wind up things, I now cordially invite Engineer Randita Rajapaksha, who was graduated from the Faculty of Engineering, University of Peradeniya, currently working as a fixed network solutions engineer at ZTE Lanka Private Limited, and also the secretary of the Young Members section to deliver the vote of thanks.
Yeah, unfortunately, it seems that he's lost connection. So it comes back to me. I would like to volunteer to deliver the vote of thanks. So first of all, I would like to thank our IESL president and vice president, of course, Engineer Saras, for always giving us the opportunities to organize these events as YMS. He has been guiding us a lot. And I would like to thank our YMS chairman, Engineer Damit Disanayaka, who is working very hard to give a lot of output and advantage to the young members, including the graduate, below 40 members, as well as the undergraduates. Not only that, he is also focusing and trying to motivate and bring forward the skills of the students by organizing the talk to school program. So he's always been a massive secret behind our success. So thank you very much, Engineer Damit, again. And all the organizing committee, I would like to thank the organizing committee like Ms. Tanya Linton for accepting my invitation to become the MC, and our Engineer Venura, Engineer Sasindu for helping me hosting the event today. And next, I would like to thank all the panelists. They were wonderful people here today. They did a wonderful job, from Engineer Sarah to Engineer Industry, Engineer Laksit, and Dr. Najat. I think most of the insight the undergraduates and the fresh graduates wanted to know about the industry, they were able to convey it. And most of the questions related to the industry that we were able to pick up, they were able to answer it in a very nice manner. And there are so many questions that need to be answered. Maybe we will be able to organize another separate session for those Q&A. Anyway, I would like to thank all the panelists again. And last but not least, I would like to thank all the participants. And of course, I cannot forget Dr. Manatunga for arranging this Zoom link from the Learn Zoom platform of the University of Moratuwa. So I cannot forget him as well. And finally, I would like to thank our participants. So initially there were 300, but now only 102 because the Q&A session is over. Most of them have dropped out. Anyway, I would like to thank all of our participants' patience for being with us here today and making helping us making this event a success, as I believe it is. So finally, thank you all. Thank you everyone who helped. I might have missed a name here or there. Anyway, I would like to thank everyone who were behind this to make this event a success. And with that, we can declare the webinar as finished, concluded. Tanya, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Engineer Zara, for your words of gratitude. So there's a famous saying that every ending has a new beginning. I'm pretty sure, I'm confident that the end of this career guidance program is going to be a new beginning to all the young, talented engineers yet to become we're having today. So having all that said, it's time to say goodbye. And this is one more thing that I would like to sum it up. So set your goals and make your plans and chase for your dreams.